In this video, we're going to cover another Autodesk certified user exam objective for Fusion 360, and we're going to take a look at the advanced modeling section and specifically the second exam objective called boundary fill. Now with this one, I'm also going to demonstrate a little bit of sweep with another option. In a previous video, I covered kind of a basic sweep. This one will also show one that has a guide rail. So I'm going to go ahead and move into Fusion, and with that I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to create a new component here, and we'll call this vase. And within the vase component, I'm going to click create sketch. I'm going to choose the top work plane here. I'm going to create an ellipse, and the size of it doesn't really matter too much. So I'm going to create one that's maybe about this large, about 2.5 or something like that. I'm not going to worry too much about constraining the size of it. The size is not really the purpose of this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. And in order to do this, we're going to create another sweep, which means we need a second sketch. So I'm going to go ahead and place one on the front work plane. I'm going to go ahead and take a vertical line from the origin, and we'll do about maybe 6 inches. So just roughly. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a fit point spline, and you'll see that when I clicked on that, the purple line down here at the bottom is representing the edges of the ellipse. So as I tilt this down, you can see those are the very ends of the ellipse that are showing up there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the edges of the point of the ellipse, and then I'm going to kind of click and go outward here, click and set another one, kind of come up a little bit, and then kind of curve around. And then to match the top of the line, I'm just going to go over here. I'm not going to click, I'm just going to touch, and then it's going to allow me to track, and I'm going to kind of track this out a little bit like so. And once I place that fourth point, I'm going to right click and say OK, and that'll set the curvature of kind of our vase here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch. I really don't need to worry about dimensioning that there, and I'm going to go ahead and run my sweep command. So I'm going to change my type from single path, which is usually the default, to a path plus a guide rail. So the first thing it's looking for is the profile. So I'm going to choose the ellipse at the bottom. It's looking for the path, so I'm going to choose select there, choose the vertical line. Now you're going to see that it's just going to mainly get ready to, if you have this set as single path, this is what this will turn into, is it'll just follow the path, and it's more like an extrusion. So I'm going to go ahead and change this over to path and guide rail, and it's looking for a third selection, which is the guide rail. So I'm going to hit select, and I'm going to choose the curvature, which is now going to go through and follow that guide rail, and again just kind of go through and just continue to give us a guide there. All the other options I'm going to leave defaulted. We are creating a new body, and I'm going to go ahead and say OK. So this gives us kind of like a vase, or kind of like a container or something like that. So maybe one that you get from a floral shop. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to use the shell command, and I'm going to go ahead and select the top face, and let's say that this is going to be a 0.1 inch inside thickness on the shell, so that'll shell it out, and you can see it gets down there to the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and just say OK. Now here's where boundary fill becomes very helpful. Is let's say that we want to use Fusion to have us create another body inside of this. Like for example, if we wanted to know how much water or what is the volume that this could kind of hold, so the inside. Not only that, maybe for appearances, we want to create another body to show some realistic components. Now we could go through and model a body with an offset thickness and everything that's being done. That's a lot of work. But if I go into create and go down to boundary fill, then I can go through and take a look at utilizing it. Now before I get going too far, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel here. I'm going to have to tell the boundary fill where to stop at. So I'm going to go ahead and grab an offset plane, and I'm just going to go ahead and click on the top edge of the vase. So let's say we want to fill this vase all the way full, or maybe if we don't want it filled all the way full, we want to maybe offset this by maybe an inch or so, because we only want to fill it to this level. So I'm going to go ahead and offset that top down by about 1 inch. and then that way it has it set there. So I'm going to go ahead now, go to create, go to boundary fill. It says to select the tools, so I'm going to select the work plane, so which is going to tell us where we want to fill the boundary to, and then I do want to select the vase itself. Now, as soon as we do that, you're going to see it's going to turn green, and then I'm going to go ahead and move down into select cells and hit select, and then I'm going to choose what things that I want it to go through and pick. So I'm going to check the boxes, and it should go through. And here, like if I select both, that should work pretty well, I believe. But we're going to be able to see what are kind of our boundary fills that we have. And then our operation, either we could do a join or a cut, or we can intersect. For us, in this case, we're going to create a new body out of this within the component that we have active, which is our vase component. And I'm going to go ahead and just say OK. Doesn't look like a whole lot happens, and even as we look in the top, though, you'll see there's a solid there now. And what it is when I expand my vase component and I expand the bodies, I've got body 1, which is the vase. Body 2 is the inside boundary fill. So you can see where the body kind of stopped at there as well. So you can see how it's highlighted. Now, one thing that I would like to do is I'm going to go into modify. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose physical material, and under the liquid folder I can grab water. I'm going to drag and drop that onto body 2, and then I'm going to go ahead and just hit close. So now you're going to be able to see here are some of the options. Now we're able to see through this just a little bit, and that's not really the point of what we want here. So let me go back down to the boundary fill and say edit feature. Maybe I need to uncheck one of these boxes. So let me try unchecking the top box. Looks like I didn't do a whole lot there. So let me try editing the feature. Let's uncheck the bottom box. We'll check the top box for the selected cells. That looks a little better. So if a case like that, it might just be that it was interfering with our shell, which is what was happening. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the construction planes. Here you can see in the top, there's the water that you see down in the vase. And then if I hide body 1, there's the water body that was created. So that's what it looks like. And then when I bring the vase back, toggle the visibility. So there's where it comes back in as boundary filled. If I hide body 2, then you can see that's just like as if we shelled it before we added the boundary fill in there. So this is a quick way. And then the other thing too is if I right click on body 2 and choose properties, I can find out like how much volume of water that would be used to fill the vase up to that level that we wish to have it at. So, and again, you see the highlight there. So this may go through, and as you're messing with boundary fill, you may need to do just like how I did and right click edit the feature, and then start to look at checking some things like this checkbox. You notice I didn't mess with it because that would be the line, that's the boundary that would be above that work plane, and that would go all the way up here to the top. So we really didn't want that. We wanted everything below that line. But you may have to make some adjustments, play around with this tool, and get more familiar with how it registers different boundaries to develop bodies that can either be created separately or be used as cut features or joined features within your model. So this video concludes how to perform a boundary fill, and with that, this would go through and cover the extent of utilizing it for the Autodesk Certified User Examination. Please take a look at other videos. If you do have questions about this particular exam objective, please feel free to email me, and then I will be happy to go through and answer that and hopefully make you successful on your first attempt of the Autodesk Certified User Exam for Fusion 360.